a hoax. We welcome to Delmarva Live, Kelly Riddle. Sadler is the Director of Communications at America First Policies and America First Action, a pro-Trump political action committee. She will be in charge of policy and communications efforts supporting President Trump's re-election in 2020. And we welcome Ms. Sadler to the broadcast. Kelly, thank you so much for coming on this morning. And I cannot believe that Joe Biden and the DNC continue to push this hoax. I believe the Washington Compost gave it a number of Pinocchios, this hoax thing that they continue to push when it's fake news.
Absolutely. And, this has been something that we've been hearing on, mainstream media broadcasts when they have pundits go on, especially on MSNBC and CNN. AOC was on Jake Tapper last weekend, repeating these talking points, and they're just simply not true. If you take in context what the president was saying, he was saying that he's been under attack by, these Democrat partisans since he stepped foot in the Oval Office. And if it's not one thing, it's the other. Now they're trying to weaponize the coronavirus against him, make it political, and all of it is just a hoax. So he didn't call the coronavirus a hoax. That's a real matter that he deals with every single day and gets up and gives briefings to the American public on. It is just kind of the weaponization of this virus against the president to try to take him down. And quite frankly, it's sickening. And we see it repeated over and over again in the mainstream media and now by these Democratic super PACs.
I don't know how we put an end, really, to what I call the Marxist state media, Kelly. That's what I call them. Did you listen to what Joe Scarborough said on Morning Schmo yesterday? Let me play this cut for you. I want to get your assessment.
It seems that Republicans now are making the argument, let the World War II vets die, let the Korean War vets die, let the Vietnam vets die, let everybody in that generation die. Because we're worried about Boeing. It is the born. It is the weakest among us. It is senior citizens who they're ready to euthanize. Because they want Boeing's corporate earnings to not dip too low.
This is the kind of crap, and that's what it is, it's crap that the Republicans have had problems defending themselves against for many years. This president has not had a problem defending himself against this, but how do you fight this kind of, this level of fake news that is causing such severe division within the country, Kelly?
Well, that was absolute garbage. Joe Scarborough has lost his mind. He was on air this morning saying how China is doing a wonderful job in containing the pandemic.
Did.
Basically taking Chinese propaganda and saying the U.S. is falling behind, whereas China is the world leader. China is the one who spread this virus.
That is right.
China is the one who repressed the doctors and whistleblowers for coming out. They're the ones who said that it wasn't contagious. It's highly contagious. And they lied to the rest of the world about this. And now they're not even doing any testing. They say, oh, we don't have any new cases because they're not testing anybody.
Right.
But we can't take China's word for this. But the mainstream media is just all on board, and they're parroting Chinese talking points, saying that we want our elderly to die is just sickening. They're hyping up, this pandemic in New York City, where they were saying that there wasn't enough clothing or masks or ventilators, where Dr. Birx came on yesterday and said, whoa. They've got everything they need right now. Let's take this down a notch. And she's a medical professional who's been assisting and getting, the needs to the state. You had Andrew Cuomo came on yesterday. He's like, hey, we've got enough hospital gowns now for the foreseeable future. Everything is okay. But the media wants to create a hysteria about it. But you know what? I think the American people see through this. There was a poll that came out yesterday that said, do you trust the federal government to handle this? 66% of people absolutely trust it.
That was the Harris poll.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the Harris poll,
Yep, they approve of what the president is doing and how he's handling this virus. In every poll that we've seen, his approval ratings are at an all-time high. Whereas you look at the media, and they don't, the only institution that is underwater in the trust of the American people is the mainstream media. And it's too bad. They've lost their faith in the media because of all the unfair bias reporting that has come out since, quite frankly, 2015, the Russia collusion hoax, and now when we're in a pandemic and we really need to trust the media and what they're saying, a lot of people are like, I just don't know if I can, and that's a really sad point, and the media has brought it on themselves.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because Her Royal Highness, Nancy Pelosi, she was certainly in a hurry to get impeachment over to the Senate, wasn't she? But she certainly wasn't in a hurry to help workers who lost their jobs.
I mean, this was the most partisan political thing I've seen in a really long time with what happened this weekend when she flew in from San Francisco to basically tank the Senate bill and then started inserting pork into it that we've never seen before, Green New Deal measures. Corporate diversity board measures, and really stalled this bill from passing, and the American people need this relief now. Let
me play Nancy Pelosi's comments yesterday and get your response, Kelly. Here they are.
We did jujitsu on it, that it went from a corporate first proposal that the Republicans put forth in the Senate to a workers first, Democratic workers first legislation. Can you believe that I think it was every Republican, I think 49 Republicans last night voted in the Senate to deprive those on unemployment insurance of the additional $600 a week. How could it be? We want more. There's so many things we didn't get in any of these bills yet in the way that we need to.
Now, what more did she want? Did she want $50 million for the Kennedy Center, Kelly?
Yeah, she did, and she wanted to bail out the U.S. Postal Service on top of that and relieve all student loan debt, and among a plethora of other Democratic platform points that she wanted to be inserted in this bill.
It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting what they did. It really is.
I mean, it really is. And then to try to spin it the way that she's spinning it, basically what came out of the Senate and was ultimately approved by the Senate was what Chuck Schumer negotiated with Republicans on Sunday night. So, I mean, they took us a step back, and now they're talking about it on the House floor right now. We'll see how that goes. But every day this bill is delayed. It's putting small businesses out of work, and millions of people are getting laid off of their jobs. We saw the jobless claims yesterday. So this relief needs to pass. It's not a bailout. It's not a slush fund. This is a crisis. This is a pandemic, and people need relief right now, and it's for nothing that they've done.
Our guest is Kelly Sadler, Communications Director at America First Action. She's a former special assistant to President Donald J. Trump. Kelly, the president took some hits on this show yesterday. I received several calls, and I know my wife was pretty upset, that the president did not fight the Socialist Democrats, that's what I call them, over the $25 million for the Kennedy Center, the money for public television, and the fact that the president promised in 2016 that he was going to put a stop to that. But if the president had fought them on this, based on the timing, Nancy Pelosi knew she had the leverage, because if the president gave any indication he was going to slow this bill down because of this, the market would have tanked again, correct?
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. I mean, it's unfortunate that it's gotten down to partisan politics. And, yes, if the president would have said, I'm going to veto this bill, the markets would crash. The bill would be delayed. It'd have to be renegotiated. And as I said, I mean, this is money that we need to get into the hands of people who have lost their jobs, that need to pay their mortgage, that we need to get into the hands of small businesses so they can get the loans that they need to keep the lights on, and keep their workers on payroll, so that they can turn on their lights when this crisis is over, and not devastate the economy and have it go into a great recession standards. So I think that the overall urgency and the relief that this bill provides outweighed the $25 million to the Kennedy Center. I know there's a lot of conservatives on Twitter that are saying, okay, Kennedy Center, once you get this money, you should put this $25 million into relief efforts. Give it up.
Yes, I've heard that. I've heard that too. I haven't heard anybody from the Kennedy Center. I call it the rest home for washed up entertainers. The Kennedy Center. That's what it is.
Yeah. So we haven't heard anything from the Kennedy Center on that, but I think that would be a good thing for them to do.
Kelly, getting back to Joe Biden, his mental capacities have been impacted by we don't know what. I mean, I'm assuming it's dementia, Alzheimer's, something like that. I don't see him getting through the rigorous campaign going up to Election Day on November 3rd. What are your thoughts? Do you think that Mario Cuomo, based on his very public battle with the coronavirus, is campaigning to take Joe Biden's place on the ticket? That's my feeling. What do you say?
You know, it's crossed our mind, and we're monitoring Cuomo very closely. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory, right?
No, absolutely not. No, I mean, he's
been doing a good job.
He's a political opportunist. He always has been. I mean, take a look what he did when he was running HUD during the Clinton administration.
Yeah, I mean, and his public profile has been risen. He's done great things for the state of New York, putting all partisanship aside, and I do actually like watching his pressers. But, I mean, he's the king of New York, so that's a huge thing to give up, and we'll see what happens to Joe Biden. Right now, he's just hunkered down in his basement. So the technology that he has is terrible. These live streams cut in and out.
Who is doing his cue cards? Who is doing his cue cards? It's terrible.
They need to be fired. And then he's just wrong on the issues, like calling the travel ban from China.
Xenophobic.
When the president so decisively did that, calling that xenophobic.
Back on February 1st, by the way. He did it on February 1st.
I mean, it was unbelievable. And there's a Pew study that come out that says that 95% of Americans supported restricting travel to the U.S. to stop the spread of the coronavirus. That means that Joe Biden is one of the 5% that disagree. And so he's on the losing side of that issue, and he was not at the forefront of this crisis. I mean, he's not at the forefront right now. He's not doing press. The only press he's doing are very choreographed. You know,
yes.
With Nicole Wallace, if you saw that the other day, what a joke. Where they, thank you, Mr. President, for coming on. Thank you, Mr. President.
Oh man. God. I can't stand Nicole Wallace. It's hard to believe she used to work for the Bushes. I just can't believe that. Kelly Sadler, Communications Director at America First Action. Kelly, I'm going to give you the last word. What can we do to make sure those phony ads from the DNC stop running, which are impugning our president? What could we do? What can average Americans do to stop them?
What average Americans can do is, just cause a stink. Call your local station and say, take down the ad. It's up to the station managers and owners. If they want to air this, this false information, this false hoax, that's up to them. But it's also, on social media, get active. The Trump campaign has run into the similar thing where we're getting banned. Some of our ads are on Twitter, whereas the DNC and the Democrats can spew all the phony stuff they want to and get away with it. So, anything that you can do on social or any calls that you can make to your local stations would be much appreciated.
Kelly, between now and November, I hope we can have you back on the program. It was great to have you on. Thank you so much for your time. Obviously a very busy time and a crazy time for many of us, but thanks so much, and I hope to have you back on again.
Thank you so much, too. Appreciate it.
God bless, Kelly. Kelly Sadler, she is the Communications Director at America First Action and former Special Assistant to President Trump.